Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome on in to another episode of the 6 out of 10 Not Bad podcast over on the Senshudo channel with myself, Tiny Pixels, and as ever, I am joined by the rather lovely Squall Muzzer. Sam, how you doing today, darling?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. You know what I've noticed? It's like every time you put like extra special emphasis on the not bad, but it's slightly different every time.
Is it really?
Like, yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad.
I'm just starting to notice a variety in it.
I feel like it's a pro because this, unfortunately, the 6 out of 10 is my fault. Unfortunately,
angry letters written into PO box.
Yeah, pretty much. It's my fault, and so I feel like I have to commit endlessly to the branding now. And every time we mention it, I'm like, it's a 6 out of 10. Not bad podcast. And people think that I'm actively telling them that it's a not bad podcast, and it's like, well, no, it's shit, but it's called the 6 out of 10 not bad, and we hide it under that, so it's good. It's fine.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, a little bit. So we weren't here last week, and we super apologize for that. Was it last week?
Part of me missed doing it, and the other part of me was so grateful for the sleep.
Yes.
Like, so tired after EGX. Like, ugh.
EGX was a
thing.
It was a real roller coaster. I feel it was an interesting one because we had some accommodation issues.
Some accommodation issues. We had no internet in a cottage in the middle of nowhere with a pipe outside that spewed human excrement across the entryway of where we were staying.
But before that, we also had to make a detour to Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
At which point I left the boys and had a cider. And kind of like curled up in a little ball and went, I'm on my own and the boys aren't here and I'm very scared. As we say, we had the cottage in the middle of nowhere with the excrement incident. We then took the 6 out of 10 podcast onto stage.
Which was marginally better than the excrement, I feel. I think it was head and shoulders above.
That statement has upset me so much I've lost my headphones. There we go. No, and that was really good fun. You guys didn't see the beforehand, so for it must have been about 25-30 minutes beforehand, we were sat in the audience, kind of getting ready, getting our running order sorted, being mic'd up. They didn't have a microphone small enough for my head, so that had to be electrical taped to the back of my neck. And these two poor lads
and he's pointing at electrical tape, like as in the stuff that's used to put heavy things on other heavy things very securely.
Yeah, so that was taped to the back of my head, and these two poor, rather apologetic lads were smushing my face and my neck, going, "We're so sorry. We're really so sorry. We're so sorry. We're so sorry. We really are sorry." And I'm going, "No, it's fine. Just." So I had no hair on the back of my head for a little while. So that was good. But yeah, no, that was all good, and we did that. I think that went really well, actually. I know we've been vodcasting it on this channel. We're hopefully going to vodcast it over on my channel soonish. I tried to vodcast yesterday, and it just didn't happen. So I need to learn how to vodcast.
Yeah, I mean, you push a couple of buttons. I'll be honest, it's really not that deeply complex.
Well, the problem was I was at a dog show in the heart of the Brecon Beacons. With hardly any signal on my phone. I did a 3-minute stream where I went, "This is a dog show, hello!" Again, I feel like I should vodcast that several times over.
Yeah, just put it on repeat. You can stack them in the playlist, it'll be fine.
There you go. So yeah, no, I need to work out how vodcasting works, because I looked at it on my phone and went, no.
Not today.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. But yeah, no, we took the podcast on stage, which was really good. And I had fun with that. I think that went okay.
It was the most terrifying, intimidating stage I have ever seen at any of these events ever.
Yes. Well, as I say, the 35 minutes beforehand, we were pacing back and forth. I was pacing back and forth. I was holding on to my lap and my chair and refusing to let go. One of my wonderful community members came over and I almost burst into tears.
Which is fine.
I'm not built for that kind of thing.
But like, it was like seriously, I would have been more comfortable in the middle of fucking Wembley Arena. Like it was literally like a fucking altar of games news in the middle of like this arena. It was horrifyingly terrifying.
Yep.
And he came out through like a proper stage. It was like down a catwalk on a proper stage and everything. Previous years, they've just had a couple of sofas plonked on like a bit of raised staging, and that's it.
Yeah, no, this was... Well, I remember the year that it was a load of screens playing YouTube and 6 sofas, 3 either side. I remember that. So this was above and beyond that, and that was absolutely terrifying. But it was a good experience overall, I think.
Yes.
It was... We did well.
It's a little bit stars in your eyes as you were coming out of there. I felt like I should have been coming out dressed as Elvis Presley or something.
Well, it was more beams in your eyes, the amount of lights that they had. You came out and you sort of went...
I think I am significantly more tan than when I went on.
Well, you say that. I was significantly more pale than I think I've ever been in my life.
You were someone's undead
character, yeah. Somebody in the chat was like, she looks like my undead character in WoW, and I kind of looked at myself afterwards and went, yeah, I look like mine too, I wouldn't worry about it. You've got good taste in characters, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. So we're back now. We're over our Concrud-ish. I'm endlessly catching up with emails of, hi, I looked at your game and it was great. Remind me about it, please.
I feel we had a conversation, and for some reason I have your card. Hello?
Hello, who this?
Love that, yeah.
Yeah. But we're catching back up again, I think. So it's about time that we got the podcast, back up and running, back up and working, and yeah, we've got some decent news today, I think.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting stuff going on, actually.
Well, we've got a lot of moral stuff to talk about, and we've got probably my favorite game announcement ever. It's like one of the small glimpses of light in this entire schedule, I feel, almost. Yes.
You can tell I compiled this schedule because it's just full of, oh, this is a bit shit, isn't it? Like, that's just the entirety of the running order, I feel.
Okay.
So, should we roll with numero uno on the list?
Yeah, and I feel like this is quite a heavy one for a lot of reasons, because we want to talk a little bit about a game called A Hat in Time. Now, I will admit, I think the game looks gorgeous. It's reviewing well across the board. It's doing good. Like it's doing well, and this is kind of picking up the slack where a lot of people feel that Yooka-Laylee fell down.
Yeah, Yooka-Laylee was very disappointing for me. I really didn't get that far in it either. I just couldn't really commit to it because it was just a wishy-washy copy of what was previously done, retaining all of the negatives of being on old hardware. Yeah,
it kind of they didn't change enough for me. They didn't make enough happen in a modern mechanical sense. A lot of it felt very empty, where they'd stretched out these levels to carry a modern scope. It
just involved a lot more walking than it otherwise should have.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. A lot of the charm was there, but the content didn't live up to what the environments and the color schemes and the sound design and things were selling. Whereas this is reviewing far better. People are massively in love with it.
I mean, I haven't looked into it terribly much, but from everything I've seen, it does look... If one of those sort of games were made in a modern time, this is what I would expect to see. So, yeah.
But, unfortunately, similarly to Yooka-Laylee, people have a bit of an issue with it because of JonTron again. Well, no, okay, I lie. One of the issues that people are having regarding the game is that JonTron has a minor voice acting role in the game.
And for those who are unaware, JonTron is a thunder cunt.
Can you explain to us, just for the people who don't know, maybe why JonTron is a thunder cunt? Because JonTron, unfortunately, I say unfortunately for content creation as a whole, JonTron this year was found out to be not the nicest human being, and I'm going to be the polite one.
I mean, okay, let me take the wording from the article that we're using to lean on.
There we go.
And I'll just put it that way.
You can be bad cop. I will be good cop.
He espoused inflammatory views about Mexicans and African Americans, and immigration, and various bits and pieces around that. Basically, he's a racist shit stain. And even after he was called out for his shit, he kind of put a video out about it, but didn't actually apologize.
Well, he almost doubled down on it in a way.
Yeah.
He doubled down on it and went, yes, but what's wrong? What's wrong with being a Nazi? I can't possibly be a Nazi, that sort of thing. And it didn't do any... Similarly to the current PewDiePie drama that's going on, it didn't do any good for gaming or content creation as a medium.
No.
So yeah, people are concerned that the Hat in Time developers have supported this attitude through his involvement. Hence the pun today, a hate in time.
Yes, but like they've not acknowledged it. They've not responded to any of calls for comment on it. They've not said they're going to take it out or mess around with it in any way, shape, or form. And with everything being the way that it is, I kind of feel like it should have at least been addressed, even if it was a sort of, look, the game's out now, it's a bit too late, we don't agree with his views, but like,
yeah, we're not affiliated in any way with him or his views, but the game is out now. Whereas obviously Ukulele, for just out of the blue, pretty much went, hey, he had a voice role in our game and we've patched it out day one.
Yeah.
And seemingly that came from nowhere, whereas people are calling for a similar thing with a Hat in Time and they've not responded to it in any way.
And I wouldn't mind. I honestly, if they turned around and said, look, the game's out now, we've already released it, it would be more effort than it's worth for us to take it back out of the game again. Like, honestly, we don't agree with him, but like, it's there. I would take that. I would be okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we deeply apologise. We deeply apologise for any upset we caused with the inclusion of his voice. Yeah. We're not affiliated. We wouldn't allow him to say anything along those lines as part of the game. The game doesn't support that kind of rhetoric, and so anything along that line, I feel would have been acceptable.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but acceptable.
Something.
Yes. Yeah, but there's been no mention of it at all.
No.
Whatsoever. Which worries me. And again, the game is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And it'll be a shame if this... this tarnishes its current shining reputation. Yeah,
the art style almost reminds me of Comic Quest. Like the character design, rather.
Yes.
The playable character. Really got that. I don't know if it's the eyes or something. It just really reminds me of it. But then there was another thing that's not been verified yet that I've seen.
So we have to be a bit careful here, but...
Yeah, so it was a tweet that's kind of bubbled to the surface and has gained a bit of traction on Twitter from someone that claims to have previously been doxxed by the lead developer on a website that he made and owned many moons ago. And it's obviously not like fully been verified or anything like that, and it's a little bit unsubstantiated at this point in time. That's not to say that it is or isn't true. I'm not anyone to say at this point. I think it's quite early days. It was only today that I actually saw this. But it just kind of concerns me that there's kind of a bit of magnetism to concern around the studio kind of at the point of launch. Where there's smoke, there's fire typically. So yeah, it's something to be kind of considerate of. I mean, I'm not going to sort of blacklist ever playing this game myself, or not at this stage anyway, but certainly cause for concern.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult ones where, and I always hate doing this, so I really shouldn't. But this was 5 years ago. This was done, and a lot of people will always say, "Hey, you know, this was a long time ago, and people change." And I think if somebody says or calls you something, maybe, and then over the 5 years they go, "Hey, look, I used to be a real rat bastard. I'm so sorry, and I hope that I can prove to you that that attitude is something that I've grown out of and I've learned from, and all this sort of thing."
Mm-hmm.
But doxing people is very different.
It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's very
calculated, isn't it?
Process. Yes. That is an action designed to create fear and complication in someone's life, and you have to go to effort to do so. And you know, in this sense, to create a website which supported this information in order to do so takes time and effort and dedication to actually do. That's very, very determined. So a change in how you are over time, you've learned from your mistakes and whatever else, I don't think quite forgives everything. I mean, you know, if you're going to take it to the really extreme example, it's like, you know, if someone had a change of heart after committing war crimes, you don't go there. It's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. That's fine.
You know what I mean? But like, it's somewhere on the scale between being a bit of a dick and war crimes. Like there's a point between the two where
saying
okay.
sorry is
you know, it's probably closer to the war crimes end of the spectrum, if we're being honest.
I mean, yeah,
doxing is quite a directed and cruel act to have performed.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that is. We're not talking, you know, we're not talking one of these script kiddies who's there to push a streamer that they don't like offline. We're not, you know, we're not talking about posting photographs of walking to the supermarket with no makeup on. Ha, look, isn't she hideous? We're talking about this is somebody who worked on this. Yeah.
And again, it's all not 100% confirmed.
No,
and whatever,
absolutely not.
But it's, as I say, for a small studio to have attracted attention of that form, it does kind of present itself as reasonably worth consideration, I would say.
And again, it's endlessly sad because the game looks gorgeous.
You
know,
who was that laddo that had the really cool looking game at the Sony conference at E3? Because he had a load of shite similar to that. I can't remember what game it was.
Oh, I remember the cyberpunk kind of one.
Yeah.
And then it just dropped off the radar, absolutely, to the point where we can't remember what it's called.
But it was because he previously had been like, I want to say he was like hugely misogynistic. Like it was completely against women or something, like women in the industry.
Yeah, one of those.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, and unfortunately there's been a lot of that recently. Yeah. There's been a hell of a lot of it. I mean,
what was that game?
You look at things like the recent Marvel conference that went on.
Yeah.
Where two older retailers started to spout off in the middle of a panel that diversity isn't something that works. And in Marvel there should be no place for it. And you think, how can you still, how are these ideals that you have? I don't understand.
It's just not possible for that to keep occurring. Like I don't understand the point of logic that allows them to get to that stage with no prior knowledge of anything at all. Like that, have never heard this person have a conversation. Like, have you not perhaps gone, so what do you think of people that have slightly darker coloured skin than you, before allowing them on stage with a microphone to represent your company? Like, you know what I mean?
To be fair, the very same company also have a working relationship, sort of sponsorship thing going on with a weapons manufacturer currently.
Well, yeah.
But
they're probably not high on.
Have they not seen Iron Man 1?
You think they'd learn?
How do they think that's okay? So it's all of this at the moment is an absolute mess, and we're having to make these ethical decisions where do we split sort of content from creator, and deal with it that way. The Last Night, thank you. Yes, there we go.
Steve, you are the hero that we needed. Thank you. Because that was going to bug me. That was going to be one of those ones that I'd forget when we finished the podcast to actually research. And then about 3 o'clock this coming morning, I would wake up in a cold sweat, not knowing where it was still, and it would have like completely disturbed me. That guy looks so cool, but the dude was a shithead, so hey.
Yeah. And as I say, it means now that we have to ask these ethical questions of, okay, well, can we split content from creator? And I know a lot of people who don't have a problem with that. And I know a lot of people who very much have a problem with that. And it's all where you sit individually, isn't it?
Typically, they're a small, well, not a small part, but they're a part of a team.
Yeah.
They're not typically individually responsible for the entirety of it. There might be a spokesperson or a figurehead or a lead developer, but there's still a lot of other people involved in the project, and those people might be absolute angels of God. They might actually be Mother Teresa turned game developer, for all we know.
I mean, you look at Sean Murray.
Yeah.
That's one guy. That entire team worked so hard on that video game, and because Sean Murray opened his fat mouth.
Peter Molyneux.
Again,
there's a lot of people that followed the cult of Peter.
I watched a development stream for 22 Cans one day, and it broke my heart because they were chatting away, absolutely fine, and then Peter Molyneux came and sat down, and they all went quiet.
Oh God!
And it broke my heart.
I mean, I would, but that is a man who, when he is already up to his neck in a hole, goes, "Could you lend me a shovel?"
Yeah.
Like that's just.
Yeah. But yeah, there's bringing it back a little bit. There's a lot going on at the moment with A Hat in Time. The game looks gorgeous, but we're hearing stories from various places, and the developers at the moment aren't acknowledging it in any way, shape, or form. And
that's the part that concerns me.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much to just send a quick press release saying, "Yeah, he's a bit of a dick." But
we all worked really hard on this game.
Yeah,
it's out in the wild now.
Won't be using him again.
Yeah, we don't echo his views in any way, and we even down to we regret his inclusion, and next time we know not to work with him again.
But like the thing is, I think it's to the point now where they had chance to remove it before release.
Yeah, and they didn't.
So I think they're in the mode of, let's just brush it under the carpet and not acknowledge it and hope it goes away.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. Yeah. Whether that's the case, I don't know, but that's certainly how it feels.
Yeah. But we'll see whether we get a statement out of them. We'll see kind of how that goes. Please, 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 can we move on to something that is lovely and wonderful and light and magic and all this sort of thing?
I'm fresh out of goose puns. So
I was gonna think of
I'm
one.
gooseberry sorry that I can't.
Oh my life!
I'm sorry, I couldn't think about it.
Oh, don't.
But yeah, Untitled Goose Game is just it's just childlike innocence congealed into a game, and I love it, and it's perfectly characterized. And you play a goose that is just there to annoy a farmer by like stealing his hat and running off with it and dropping it in a lake. And it's the most wonderful, pure thing that I've possibly ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So this surfaced on Twitter. Oh, that's Angry Jizz Trumpet. This is Goose. Oh, you can tell I'm having some difficulty. Goose does not
interfere with an Angry Jizz Trumpet. Just to confirm.
So this is a game that surfaced on Twitter by a development studio called House, and in it you play a goose. The game is currently untitled. This is like super early alpha kind of footage that we're seeing.
You know what? It looks good for an early alpha though.
I play the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Like I really would. So the idea is you have a set of tasks where you are setting out a picnic and destroying an English gentleman's farmery day. And it's just wonderful. I was trying to explain it last night to a couple of boys who are on the Neon Scream team with me, because they'd not seen it. And we were talking about the fact that one of them is looking to maybe play an infiltrator. And I'm like, okay, you have to see this game. It's like Metal Gear Solid Assassin's Creed, but you're a goose in England, and you're making a picnic.
Have you seen the video where they've set this to like the Metal Gear Solid alert music? It's so good.
Yeah.
They even put a little exclamation mark above the farmer's head when he notices the goose. It makes me so happy.
So yeah, if you guys hadn't seen, we're just getting to the bit where, no. The goose goes to steal the hat out of his hand, and the farmer notices, and the goose is like, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It wasn't. I didn't. It kills me every time.
No, nothing makes me as happy as when he's stolen the keys and he runs behind the pillar that's like down at the front of the farm, and as the farmer walks past, the goose just kind of pops his head out the side like, sup?
Yep.
And it's just really adorable, and I love it.
Yeah. No,
absolutely love it.
This is great, and it's really nice to see these really odd indie titles.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good to see these, because it's a super simple premise. You're a goose who's a bit mean, so you're a goose.
But that's what geese are like. Geese are evil. I'm fully convinced that geese are, the product of Satan.
Sorry, just go to the bit where the goose starts chasing him and whacking constantly.
But geese are super aggy. Like they'll have a pop at you, mate.
Yep.
Like, the amount of times I've gone to any kind of lake or anything like that, and if you dare go near the season where they've just had babies or something, that's it. They'll hunt you down. So
yeah, this is slated for release next year, and as I say, I want it. I want this.
I want to play it this year, next year, and the next 20 years continually. Geese are evil.
And just press X to honk. It's the best one from. So true story. While we were at EGX, Matt and I, we were chatting. We were chatting about you making geese noises, and we came up with an idea for an app, which on a button press, it plays a noise, and you have to decide whether it's you or a real goose.
I mean, if you had the camera off just then,
it would have been like there was a goose in the room.
Or did you think it was a goose trying to say Sean?
No, that was a goose trying to say Sean. 10 out of 10, best ever. But yeah, geese are absolutely horrendous, and I love games that allow you to be like a bit of a dick, but not in a world-shattering kind of sense. Not with any kind of serious consequences. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not impoverishing a nation in this.
No.
I'm just slightly inconveniencing one bloke's day and making him lose a sandwich. And that's kind of okay.
Yeah. I like, none of this black and white where you had to beat up the lion to be able to, make it fear you and then your nation feared you. No, anything like that. You're stealing his keys and running around the pillar.
I don't need to napalm a load of innocent people in order to get to my next objective. No.
No. You just hide in a bush. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. I like this. This is going to be great. And as I say, it's taken Twitter by storm because it's super charming. Like, it's super charming.
And I love the art as well. The art is so simplistic, but just really nice to look at.
Yeah, it's really bright and really colourful and silly. And I love silly games. That makes me super happy. So yes, this is definitely on my must-play in 2018 list. I'm excited. I'm excited to play this.
You don't really want to go down Uncanny Valley with a goose, do you? It's just...
That's too traumatic.
I would feel quite intimidated.
Yeah, a little bit. All right. So yes, this is on my. I think this is on everybody's to playlist by now, because this is silly and wonderful and great. Let's talk about things. Let's flip flop back.
Yeah.
And let's talk.
Think to Grumpy me.
Yeah. Let's go back to Grumpy Sam. Because a game that I love is taking control, and I could not be happier. It's no lie that I physically and mentally, with every fiber of my being, adore League. Everybody knows at this point. I love the lore. I love the lore. I love the characters. I love the design. I love the thought that went into the big revamp. All this sort of thing. Unfortunately, it carries with it this very sort of toxic community. And the toxic community is spearheaded by just silly people, I think. Like,
angry teenagers who haven't seen a boob yet. I would say is a fairly accurate summation.
Yeah.
They have a minimal chance of seeing a boob. Ever.
So, at the head of all this, we have some predominant streamers. And I think most people have heard of Tyler 1.
To our eternal detriment, because the man is a complete prick. I mean, he's supposedly reformed, and he's stopping the being angry and being toxic. Like, he proudly called himself the most toxic League player or the most toxic League streamer at one point.
Yeah.
And his entire shtick is, being kind of average at games. And if something goes wrong, and that's whether it's his fault or not, he will scream and shout like a baby. And it's the most typical angry young boy screaming because someone's, wronged them in some way, and it's really, really sad. Yeah.
I mean, it appeals to some people. Usually I feel like a younger audience it appeals to, but, it's not for us. It doesn't mean that it's not, other people can't enjoy it, other people do.
Some people like smashing themselves in the testicles with a claw hammer. I wouldn't say it's for anyone, really, but some people still get up to it all the same.
Again, from my experience, watching Tyler 1's something similar, but again, that's just
I'm
my
not trying
opinion.
to be nice about it. I'll be honest, this is the sort of person that should be buried in the depths of the directory rather than pushed to predominance by viewership and whatever else.
But regardless of what we think about said individual and the character that he plays on stream, the person that he is, you'd never wish cancer on him.
No.
And you'd never wish death on him. And
So here's the particular thing that we do not wish upon him.
Yes.
Which is a direct quote. Honestly, it's fine. He'll die from a coke overdose or testicular cancer from the steroids. Then we'll be Gucci. Which is a quote from a Riot staff member about Tyler 1, which was actually said in the R League of Legends, which is based around the Reddit forum for League of Legends. They have a Discord, and it was said by this Riot team member within that Discord,
as labelled as a Twitch staff member. And although that doesn't make a difference, it's important to note that he was at that point labelled. Yes, he was representing Riot. Now, oh no. Sorry, England has appeared in the chat and gone, I would much rather watch somebody consistently lead horses to their doom in a variety of video games. Look, my content's not for everybody, alright? But it works for me, and
requires significantly less screaming and shouting, which I'm A++ with.
Significantly. But anyway, so yeah, he's representing Riot, and Riot have gone, hey, we don't want somebody like that working for us. So they've made sure he isn't working.
And they apologised to Tyler 1 for their conduct and said that it's going to be dealt with. Tyler 1 said in response, it sucks that people still hold a massive grudge versus old Tyler 1 and refuse to acknowledge I've changed. He hasn't really changed that much. I've seen recent footage, but hey. Ultimately, you know what? That's a fair bit of grace for anyone to respond with, in all honesty.
For a start, it acknowledges that he knows there's something wrong.
Yep.
And he's working on some way of making it you know, better and all this sort of deal. You know, he's. I think it says something that he's making the effort, if nothing else.
Well, I think he's making the effort on the surface. And it's also in part fueled by the fact I'm almost certain he got banned from League at one point due to toxic behaviour. At which point he went, I'm going to turn over a new leaf. New account.
I mean, yeah, but it's important that he doesn't do the route of, yes, but League is shit because it doesn't allow me to be toxic. Which is unfortunately...
my sub.
Yeah, it's an attitude that a lot of people have given us over the last couple of years. Riot says, hey, you need to stop that. And they go, oh, I hate League because it won't allow me to express the behaviors that I want to express.
I can't tell them in 17 different ways how many ways I'd fuck their mum.
Yeah, it's silly. So, and again, like, he doesn't need production quality because he has the rage thing going on.
I've possibly heard on Twitch.
Yep. But he doesn't need to change that because it feeds into the rage thing. But again, it doesn't matter what we think of him. It literally doesn't matter what we think of him. What matters is that we would never wish that upon him.
No. As much as I think he's a complete cockend, I wouldn't be like, hey, get cancer, kid. No, like, that's not
you'd wish him safe.
A sentiment that you should have towards anyone, frankly. Like, that's just not.
And it worries me that there's a level of toxicity required when you die to go, oh, I hate this game and I hate everybody's game. Yeah. Smash my headset. It's a very different level of toxicity, I feel, to turn around to somebody and go, do you know what? I hope you get cancer and die of a coke overdose.
Yeah.
That's a very different...
It's similar to what we were talking about in our first topic, is a level of calculation and that step beyond to make that comment because of just the extra depth that's in that comment to have it made. That there's thinking space in there before you hit enter.
Yes, and I'm genuinely so glad that this is an action that's been taken. So they've apologized to Tyler One and they made sure that this guy is no longer working with Riot. Now there was a casting, as in a shoutcasting company recently, who one of their employees. One of the fellows that worked with them was sat on Twitter calling everybody who disagreed with one of his favourite people a faggot. And his boss happened to see the tweet and went, hey, we don't want people like you working for us. Get out.
Collect your pink slip on Monday sort of thing, right?
And I genuinely think it's important now that we start punishing these attitudes.
Well, hopefully the next one on the list, that fucking Cobra Tate. That fucking absolute waste of a piece of vaginal discharge on Twitter. My goodness.
The problem with Cobra Tate is that a lot of the attitudes that he perpetuates, they're very dangerous. Yes. A lot of the things that he was saying about male-based depression and suicide are really damaging. Again,
he made a very charming comment about someone had a GoFundMe up to raise money
for
that made me gag. Surgery, and he went, your comics aren't selling very well, so you're having to beg for help when it's less than quarter of the money that I would spend on one of my cars. Beg me if you want to save your child's life.
Go on, I'll save your child's life if you ask me nicely. And I genuinely gagged reading it. I cannot imagine. I physically, and I don't know whether it's the way that I was brought up or what it is, but I physically cannot imagine looking at somebody with a sick family member, friend, acquaintance, anything, and turning to them and doing any less than, hey, how can I help?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you need that I can help with? If I have it, you can have it. It was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And as I say, the stuff that he was saying about suicide, and again, as somebody who understands depression, as somebody who has had depression, as somebody who is actively sort of, you know, please get help. If you please don't worry about what people are going to think of you. Please don't worry about wasting people's time. Please don't worry about being less of a man or less of a person or less than a woman or whatever it is. Please get help. Go find a professional. Speak to somebody. Please don't worry.
And like, I'm not being funny, but like, if you feel like, I don't know, like for me, I always feel I need to sort of justify my opinions and my feelings and whatever else, right? So the way that I put it is like, if you look at any of his other comments, you can tell that he's just got absolutely no grasp on reality whatsoever with any of his opinions, any of the things that he says. So if that applies to most of his comments, odds are it applies to all of them. You shouldn't really listen to a single word that piece of shit says. Yeah.
It's just, as I say, it's dangerous, and we need to start taking action against people who are, in fact, dangerous.
Yeah, and the part that it irks me is this prick's been talking like this for at least a couple of months that I've seen. And as far as I'm aware, no sponsorships have been dropped or anything like that. And then he needs to be dropped like a bad fucking habit.
Yep.
Like, what a waste of oxygen.
Yeah. I don't understand. But as I say, I am glad that people are...
It's been recognised and it's being reported and it's being acted upon in places.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
That's the important part.
Let me... give me a second.
Good.
Sorry. Yeah. Let me pop this in chat. So if you're not aware of who we're talking about, just go and block this the person who is in the pictures there. I won't link him directly.
No.
But if you are active on Twitter and you are likely to come across the person who is in the screenshots there, Cobra Tate, go and block him, because he's an absolute waste of space. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So let's get past beating on someone else about their shitty behaviour.
Good one.
And let's get on to beating a Sonic 3D cartridge, because that's how you get to the level select.
Yeah, so it always fascinates me when we find these old games that have weird shit in them.
So like, I was watching this video earlier, right? So we pulled this video from Game Hut. And it's a designer for a lot of different bits and pieces around these earlier games, and talking about like the reasoning behind coding decisions in them. Now, basically, the process way back when, well, on the old Sega Genesis, was if you sent a game off to them to get approved to be put onto the console or allowed to be released on the console, they'd have it for weeks, and they would stress test the hell out of it before they would let it be on the console. And if you had one bug, one crash, one anything, they'd send it back to you with a really cryptic note upon what basis, you know, the crash had occurred, and you couldn't really tell that well. And you'd have to go through that whole process all over again, which obviously is not the ideal set of circumstances. So, to kind of duck around this, what they did was any of the crashes that were likely to occur, they just linked that to go through to the level select screen as like the readout. As instead of it saying you got error 1157 or whatever, it just gave you a message about that, and the next step was to go to the level select. So that is why it's there, and a reliable way of creating an error of some description, which in turn would feed to this level select screen, is by breaking a connection between the cartridge and the reader.
That's so cool.
So that's why it works.
So Rami was having a discussion recently on Twitter about the fact that a lot of game design decisions that you see are based on a limitation. So you look at Silent Hill 2's Fog, for example. That was a draw
Render.
distance, a render distance limitation.
Mm-hmm.
So they put fog in to stop that kind of thing, to stop you from noticing it. And there's one, I think, with the with Sonic R, where because of the speed that you're going at, some of the walls will angle your collision to put you back on track, but it puts you back on track further up so that you miss the sort of troublesome piece of track. And kind of bits and pieces like that. So, like, if you've built up enough momentum, you can just skip bits.
There's actually a similar thing with Sonic 3D, which is the intro to that game is not handleable by the console. So they make it kind of lag and do some weird shit. So it's the actual intro, but it's running in such a way that it looks a little bit squiffy, but it's still running.
Well, they do that in Sonic Mania. They have a callback to that in Sonic Mania,
really?
Where the intro is that you have whoever you're playing as walk along, and then the screen kind of shifts and slows and lags, and then the colors invert, and then you're warped to your level, your first level, and that's it. That's a callback to that sort of thing where they can get that to work. So they would do that, but no, that's really cool. That if you, what is it like? If you waggle it so that it breaks the connection.
Yeah, like it's kind of like knocking it or banging it or wiggling it.
Everybody who had a cartridge-based console remembers at one point in time your mate or your brother or your sister or your mum or whatever fell over the console, severed the connection between cartridge and console, and whatever you were doing for the last like 12 hours that you'd been working on solidly,
it was done.
Yeah, it was done. Like, completely. I remember falling, and I know it's a disc-based system and it's slightly different, but I remember falling over a friend's PS2, right? And I fell over the PS2 and the disc jumped in the system because it was one of the big ones and you had a lot of room in those disc drives. And it just, the disc just snapped. And we weren't friends after that. Ever again. We were not friends after that. And it was literally that the cat had got under my feet and I'd gone sailing. And I just as I went to save myself, tripped over the PS2.
You don't save yourself, you save the console.
Right.
The console's more expensive than you are.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh, that reminds me of working in a game where people would put their Xbox 360s upright. And
I mean, they sold stands or whatever to do that, right? To like hold them in place, but no one ever fucking bought them.
Now, you shouldn't have them that way up because the discs wobble and they get laser burnt.
Yeah.
And we had a guy come in once go, this new game that I bought has got rings in it. And his kiddie was looking at the floor. And we went, and what happened? And the kiddie's like, no, what happened? And the kiddie eventually says, well, I pulled it off the cabinet and I'm going to stand it up so that I could see it and it was pretty. And then I threw the cat at it and the cat knocked it over. I was bowling.
Bowling the cat?
He was bowling the cat. And it had gone over and he laser burnt the shit out of this 60 quid game.
Okay.
Oh god, yeah, the thing with Croc with his head.
Yeah, that's news to me. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, no, Croc had a weird thing where if you booted the system up the wrong way with the game in it, then yeah, the Croc had a high chance of appearing without his head, and you can play the entire. Speedrunners will sometimes do it just for giggles.
Just for the memes.
Yeah, they'll do an entire run of Croc without his head. And it's really grim. There was another game that did that, and I don't remember what it was.
I never had that, and I played Croc. I remember playing Croc when I was younger.
I think it might have been a glitch in The Evil Within. I forget. There's a glitch somewhere where one of the deaths is you have your head cut off. And if you try and cycle too fast through the death animation, you come back to life with no head.
I mean, that's fine.
That's really funny. There's quite a few of them that I can think of, having watched speedruns.
There was another one. There was another one where that was a legit strat. Like, it was some kind of shooting game, of like an FPS or something like that. And in the campaign, you could have your head shot off, but then you could respawn without your head, and then you couldn't get headshot
And then
anymore.
you could get headshot. That's really clever.
I can't remember what fucking game it was. It's really gonna bug me.
Oh, there's a really good.
Thanks.
Now that we're talking about glitches and things, because I love this sort of thing. There's one where one of the Mario RPGs where you play as Mario and Luigi. So he jumps with A and Luigi jumps with B, but Luigi jumps higher. So there's a point in the game where you can despawn Mario and spawn a second Luigi, so that you don't have to do half the puzzles because they can both jump high.
Yeah, just skip through them.
And it's super weird because just you have Luigi voices echoing every time that they jump, because the game doesn't quite know how to deal with the fact that there are now two Luigis.
I can't deal with the fact that there'd be two Luigis, to be fair.
That would be way too cool.
It's too much.
Way too cool. But yeah, no, a lot of the stuff that they used to get around with limitations is really cool. And it's super cool to see.
I think that's such a clever thing to do. But that's one of the things that would never occur to me. I would be racking my brains how to fix every last tiny little bug in that game.
Nope. All the ones that are common.
Level select.
Yeah, reroute them through to the level
Clever.
select. Yeah, super clever. Really good. Really good. And it just shows what caliber of person we've got working in the industry.
And also, I love the fact that it comes up with a message behind, like, congratulations, you unlocked the secret level selector. It's just like, well done you, and all you've done is punch your cartridge.
It's like, do you remember when we were young and there was no internet?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, do you
Those
remember?
cartridges.
And when I was young, when I was in primary school, we played stuff like Pokemon Blue.
Yeah.
And catch a Pokemon, you press down and B, and you held it. Now, there's no like substantial evidence to prove that that's the thing, but everybody has these stories where, like, if you walked into this wall like 6,000 times, eventually you'd be able to walk through it.
Do you remember learning about the missing no glitch?
Yes! But everybody, everybody from different schools, the missing no glitch was different.
Oh, really? I've only ever known it the one way.
No, we, so because I went to a Welsh school, we used to do crossovers with English schools to teach Welsh at their schools. And to see what their schools were like that was different. And getting missing no was different. And, like, at one point in one of the Pokemon games, there's a Mew under a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah? But in some schools, the Mew was under a crate. Now, in one school, somebody had a Pokemon bootleg that allowed you to play as Team Rocket. And basically, that was our version of Creepypasta.
I mean...
Was that we all used to talk about what happened to this kid who died because he had a bootleg that allowed him to play as Team Rocket, and the police came to get him, and then he went missing.
And then he's dead.
Yeah, and that Ben drowned
Rocket,
and all that
no.
sort of thing. Yeah.
I came for him.
So, yeah, no, like, I can just imagine somebody finding this and being like, well, you've got to like hit the cartridge 6 times. Like, super, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then you can see all these kids going home being like, I know I shouldn't, but I'm gonna try it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, but it's the same thing like other stuff spreads, like the cinnamon challenge, which is actually kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Because cinnamon is technically poisonous in high amounts, and
but now we've got YouTube to perpetuate things like that.
You know what I mean? It's stuff like that or like there was a thing in my school where if you kind of leant over and hyperventilated, like force yourself to like hyperventilate, go like that up against a wall or something, and then as people push down on you, you passed out. And that was a thing that was discovered in my school and worked. And then everyone started doing that. Because we were from Essex, and that's about as smart as you get in Essex.
Oh my word.
This probably explains quite a lot of missing brain cells in Essex, to be quite honest.
See, we had horror stories that you shouldn't wear dresses and look at your own reflection, like, in the eye without blinking. If you wore a really pretty dress and stared at your own reflection in the mirror, it would get jealous of how beautiful you were, and it would try and kill you.
Yeah, but you're from the land of fucking mystical fairy tales. That sounds like that.
No, yeah.
My one's just like, if I kick you in the bollocks, you'll sing like a soprano. Your one? Oh, no. If you look at yourself, a witch will come along and cast a spell.
Well, no, it was a weird thing that, like, if you looked yourself in the eye, the people in the mirror world would be jealous of how beautiful you were. So
I think that was a Goosebumps episode, wasn't it?
Probably.
I'm very sure it was.
It went round at our school, and you had parties where you tried to pack, like, the prettiest dress you could to go to a sleepover without your parents knowing, so that in the middle of the night you could go and stand in front of a thing. With the other one we had is there's a Welsh language camp called Llangrannog, right?
Right.
And basically it's like a holiday camp where Welsh culture is sort of forced down your throat in 5 sessions a day until you remember that you love your country.
I'm Welsh in 5 lessons or less.
like Llangrannog is a big thing. And depending on which school you went to, it was either the Black Nun or the White Nun. Oh god, I remember that place. There we go. So there's 2 people in chat who remember Llangrannog. So did you guys
You
ever
weren't picking up. It wasn't a dream.
Did you guys ever have the Black Nun? And one of our teachers used to come round in the dark and knock on the windows from the outside and pretend to be this Black Nun.
What the fuck?
Right? So the Black Nun would get you in Llangrannog if you weren't careful. And like when you went in, because do you remember we used to like etch things into wood with a compass. You guys had the Black Nun. Yeah, we had Black Nun too, but I know people from like West Wales, and they had the White Nun instead. But people used to write into the beds like whether the Black Nun would, had visited them or not. So sometimes you get to Llangrannog. Now bear in mind, like, you've just gone, like, this was PS1 era, so we're talking I was still in primary school, right? You would get in there, all on your own, a couple of your friends from school, you'd get in your bunk bed, you'd lie down, and above you the words, "The Black Nun came to visit me," or "The Black Nun was here," would be above your head, and you'd be like, "No, I want to change beds! I don't want to be in this bed!"
God.
Everybody used to try and get top bunk, because nobody ever wrote on the ceiling that the Black Nun was
There's no evidence,
there.
so it can't have happened.
The nun is available in a variety of colours, yes.
Yeah, was she the one from the... So, was it like the one in... that the Black Nun was in the west and the White Nun was in the north, right?
No. South was Black Nun, west was White Nun.
You're ruining the Wizard of Oz canon here.
No, I don't care.
Is it squashed under a building?
No.
No, okay.
No.
I feel we've...
But yeah, we've gone along a little bit, and I'm really sorry.
I don't think I can see the path anymore for how far we've strayed.
but glitches and the way that they spread through kind of just word of mouth way back when is really cool. Basically,
yeah, I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how it works through. Everyone got their own different version and whatever else. Because even then, like in like game magazines, you might have like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
But you never had those little weird tips of how to do these weird little bits and bobs, really.
Yeah.
Because it was all magazine real estate. You either had a news game magazine or you had a guide magazine.
Because I used to have them for Pokemon.
Yeah.
And, you know, like some of the stuff in there used to be like a rumour column in the back of one of the ones that I used to read. Where it was like, so-and-so has written in to say that in their game, they found X Pokemon over here.
And you could talk absolute bollocks.
Yup.
Because there was no way of quantifying or gathering the rumours together to make sure. It was just one bloke, sent a fucking Polaroid in. Of like, or, picture he paid like fucking 30p to have developed up Boots or something.
That's the one. But no, punching cartridges is cool. Rerouting all of these design decisions that were a bit older and kind of hid limitations, they're always really cool. They're always really cool to find. So it's good to see developers actively talking about them, Yeah,
so I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
From crafty and clever developers to cunty developers.
Yep. But this is good news.
It's good news.
Change.
Good news, everyone.
Good news. news, everyone?
So you may have seen on the YouTubes,
Yeah.
and maybe on a few articles on a few websites as well about asset flipping, basically, which is game developers who literally just buy a bunch of assets from the store, throw them together in some jumbled order into a game, and hit publish.
Yeah.
And hit publish, and hit publish, and hit publish. To the point where they flood the Steam market. We're talking hundreds of games that they have released that are shit. Like,
So-
they are absolute toss.
Yeah, if you've ever watched, I mean, we've used footage from Sid Alpha here, but I mean, Jim Sterling is one of the guys that I really like watching. He's a bit hit and miss on occasion, but I do like watching his videos on kind of what's going on. And he and Sid Alpha pretty much spearheaded this campaign against asset flipping. And he was one of the people who brought. I don't remember what the pack was. But there was a particular voxel pack that allowed you to put a Minecraft-esque avatar into the game. It gave you gun models, it gave you trees and grass and house models, and a few zombies, police officers, and various other NPCs. And a couple of different developers took the game, took that asset pack that cost like $50 about Unity, there we go, put a load of houses in a field with some trees, put some guns in them, a couple of zombies walking around, and sold it as a working game.
Yep.
Every time you took a step, you had an achievement. Every time you picked up a gun, you had an achievement. Every time that you shot something, you had an achievement. Then you had an achievement for shooting 10 of them, for shooting 15, 20, 25, 30, so on. So people who like Steam cards and who are trying to level up their Steam account would buy all these games. So they'd start looking like they were popular. And the developers were making more and more money off of a $50 investment that they'd... And again, we've tested this. I can do this. You bung it into Unity. You tell Unity what each bit is. And Unity goes, I know how to deal with that. That's really cool. And off you go.
Yep.
We tested
This is in-game
I
now.
can do it. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about, is these developers who will buy asset packs. Again, Digital Homicide were a big problem here, where they would make very hollow game experiences where you ran around and collected things or shot things, where they bought 2 or 3 asset packs, not even bothered to change the colors on them, not even made them sort of cohesive experiences. So
Just mashed them together.
Yeah, one of them was, you're a small child destroying everything, and there are these ghostly, kind of like globby monsters trying to put you back to bed. But none of the assets matched aesthetically. They'd just gone, yeah, we'll have some of these, and we'll have some of these, and we'll have some of these, and okay, well, we'll put those together, there we go, and we'll sell it. Valve is now taking steps to remove all of these asset flips. And I could not be happier. This is the Valve I want to see, and this is the Steam I want to see, where they're actively checking games, they're looking at them going, actually no, this is shit, off my platform it goes.
But, yeah, so, like, it's a little... I mean, it's very clear, the case with this, but I find it a little odd. So let's discuss it anyway. So Silicon Echo Studios is one of the companies that was affected by this. And also, what's the name of the other one? Zonitron Productions. Now, Valve had only warned Zonitron before about doing this and basically said, look, stop it. You're abusing the system. Here is your warning. They had not done that to Silicon Echo Studios.
Now, in this case, we're not talking about them buying a pack and releasing one game, right?
No, it's lots and lots.
This was lots and 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 until they were like,
stop, just no, stop. So they'd only warned Zonitron and not Silicon Echo, and then they've taken them both off. Like, so they've removed both both sets of games from the Steam client altogether. Now, I find it's the weakest excuse, I guess. Silicon Echo are basically moaning, saying, you never warned us, you warned Zonitron. But Zonitron are linked to us, but not exactly us, but they're linked to us, but they're not actually us, but they're also kind of linked to us, and they're all through the same account, but a separate company, but they're not us.
But they're not. Yeah, no. Lots of these developers actually, they make lots of separate accounts. They link them all together under one sort of umbrella. Publishing
account, basically, isn't it?
And then they release a game on that one, and it's slightly reskinned on this one, and then it's slightly reskinned on this one, and it's slightly reskinned on this one. And then they stupidly release the sequel to this one on this one, and then the sequel to this one on this one. And it just...
It's so transparent.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're separate. They're not the same. They're different, honest, I promise. They're definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to see that movement's been made. I like that. I like that Silicon Echo literally said, "We are no heroes. We have indeed sometimes been conducting our business with some practices people may call shady." And basically, like talking about publishing under loads of different developer names, but pushing them through one account published on Steam.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, it's easier statistical tracking. That's why we did it."
Oh.
No deception involved. I mean.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Have you encountered a spreadsheet, sir? Like,
right.
I'm pretty sure there's ways and means. So yeah, that just kind of amuses me.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just good to know that they're taking a stand. It does go to show though that there is a very extreme lack of quality control still in place. Even with Steam Direct as it is now from the green light system, these did make it onto Steam in the first place.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have.
I always wonder whether Steam Direct should have like a quarantine phase, where it's seen by X percentage of the user base for Steam. And then they work out whether the game can leave quarantine or not. The problem is, unless you pay people...
No, I don't know. Give people free game keys for it and they're fucking more than be up for it.
It's the problem, isn't it? How do you... When Valve don't want to do it themselves, how do you motivate a community to do it?
To play that game for free. Put that into the developer/publisher TOS. In order to get your game on through Steam Direct, you will need to give us 20 keys or 50 keys or whatever it is, or
and then you could have people sign up for a quarantine program. They get access to these games for free. They don't know what games they're going to be, but they're expected then to... But again, unless you're paying people to do that, because that's actively a job. That is actively what somebody working at Valve should be doing.
True.
And that's the problem in all this. Is
I think if you looked at people if you pulled that from people that was like reporting games regularly, that was reviewing games regularly and getting upvotes on those reviews for the content within those reviews, and if you use those as qualifying phases, you would find the people that are eager to do the job.
Yeah.
And they would serve as a method to flag to Valve. Not to police for Valve, but to take the ones that deserved being looked at closely, flagging them up.
Yeah.
It'd be fine.
I think there's ways and means to do it. It's just... Yeah.
I reckon that'd be fine. They just don't want to do it. Because Valve are fantastic for getting your games from and less fantastic about the rest. Customer service, you could go a year without getting a reply on your ticket. Like, that's kind of... And that's not an over-exaggeration either.
Yeah. But no, they do need something else there, I feel. But again, this is a nice step in the right direction that Valve have gone, hey, this is actually a problem. And we want to be involved in making that not a problem anymore.
But the problem is, they only really do this when people make enough of a stink.
Yeah. The same as the graphs. We got the graphs because review bombing became a thing.
Yeah. But it it irks me that it takes that much for them to acknowledge a problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, they're big boys now. Like they should be able to operate a little more sensibly than going, oh, fine, it's got 3 million hits on YouTube now. I suppose we'll pull our finger out and develop it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Because they literally put it out in like 2 days. Because they've got the manpower to like develop the new features or whatever, but they just don't want it.
Yeah.
So, hey. Shall we move on?
Yes. I think I've left the sound on this video, so I'm just going to turn the music down for a second in case I have a moment.
Or would you like to tell me, whoa, stop, please?
No, hang on. Have I left the volume on? I feel like I have. Let's just check.
But it's slightly sad, but
yeah, no, hang
appropriate.
On. Yeah, I don't know whether that's going to deafen you lot. I really hope it's not going to deafen you lot.
Whoa!
Whoa. The Wii shop is shutting.
In a couple of years.
But it's shutting.
And it's kind of fair enough. Like it's been around for its time, and it's now 2 generations ago rather than 1 generation ago. But January 2019, away goes the Wii shop, and 200 virtual console titles will go with it. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
because there's some good shit on there. But obviously, it probably just doesn't require supporting anymore. I'd imagine it's very rarely used, if at all. And if people are using Wiis now, let's be honest, they typically homebrew it.
So I have a problem with all of this sort of with digital media, and it's something that I feel quite passionate about, and that's it's archival of games history.
Yeah.
Archival of games is super important. It is so important, and it upset me when PT was pulled without a trace, without a word. It was gone. And unless you had it on the system, yeah, that was so much work and so much love put into PT.
Mm-hmm.
Things now on the Wii Shop channel, things like Little King's Story, for example. You know, we're gonna lose these, and I'm not entirely sure what measures are being put in place to keep them, to keep a record of these games. Some of the and I know they're not the best developer anymore, but Hudson Soft had a bunch of games on there that you couldn't get anywhere else. I miss good Hudson Soft.
Well, yeah, like they made the bloody Raw games. I loved those games, man. Those games are great. Old
Bomberman, the Bomberman RPG that was actually really good was Hudson. And I forget what that's called. I think it might be Adventure, but I do forget. But yeah, a lot of these games that are only digitally available on that platform, we might lose them. And that's really sad. I can understand, oh, well, nobody uses Wiis anymore, but I think we now need to find a way and make a conscious effort to make sure that all these games are archived somewhere, that they're safe.
Well, the other thing as well is, like, I bought this game, and I know all I bought was a license.
But you owned it.
Well, I own this game. I paid the same price, if not more, than I would have for a physical copy, and now I can no longer get it again, and that.
Now, a lot of the games that you've bought, you can still access them. You can download them now, and they'll be available on your Wii and whatever. And of course, Wii's you can plug a hard drive into.
Yeah.
So that bit's not a problem. The problem that I have is the games that are online only. These will now start to get shut down. So those games that you have a license for that you've bought, they're not going to work anymore.
They're now defunct.
I remember working in game, and there was a PS3 game, and it's totally escaped my memory, but Steve will probably know. That was an online-only shooter. and we were selling it for about £3. So
Right.
mums were picking it up because it's a shooter for £3 on the PS3. Look at that. But you couldn't play it because the servers had been turned off. But they hadn't been recalled because nobody at game cared.
That's
So, Mag? Yes! Yes, Mag was one of them. There were a couple, but Mag was one of them. So, we were actively selling these games, but people couldn't play them. The other thing was, I did a couple of, you would come in the afternoon, and people had been doing trade-ins all morning. So you'd go, you'd wash your hands, you'd sell in, and then you'd start putting away all the games that people had traded in that morning.
right.
People would have traded in World of Warcraft expansions.
I mean, that's...
And our systems were telling us that we could sell a World of Warcraft expansion for, I think it was something like either £1.50 or £3.
I mean, I guess it's useful to not have to download it.
Right,
Like,
but
that's all it is. It saves you having to download it.
But
even then, you're gonna have to download patches and whatever else.
yeah,
like...
so it doesn't matter. You don't own the game because the code on it's already been used. It's already been linked to somebody else's. Like,
you're literally being, a faster download.
So
like
this is what worries me about a lot of this. A lot of this. Okay, we're going to shut down the service to this. We're gonna shut down the storefront to that. Is that a lot of these games and a lot of these a lot of these online titles, you just can't use them anymore. You can't play them anymore. And if you want to re-download them, there's nowhere to re-download them from.
They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
And that's my concern, I guess, because yes, you could like for the virtual console stuff. I think a lot of it was like re-released from older systems and whatever, but there was definitely some exclusive stuff on there that's no longer anywhere else.
Yeah,
and that's gone.
Is it again? There's a lot of it, but you can't help business, right? As long as we start to archive it now, and
but the problem is, it now gets to the point where you're almost encouraged towards piracy. Because you can have it safe if you homebrew.
Yep.
Completely illegally.
But at least you have it.
But that's the only option, and that shouldn't be the only option, but because it is, you almost feel entitled to do so. It almost feels okay to do it, and that's really fair.
Yep. But but it's a sad day. It's a very sad day. The Wii shop is being shut.
And at least you got a bit of time to stock up all of your stuff. You got a year and a bit to do so. So thankfully, you got time to get yourself a little external hard drive and download your collection.
Yeah, thankfully.
Hopefully, you'll be alright. Apart from the online ones, obviously. All right.
Right. Move on to something that I don't actually know all that much about.
So this is something that's happening a lot sooner than a year and a bit away. It's happening in about a fortnight. It's talking about a Fortnite Battle Royale mod thing. Mod? I don't know. It's not even really a mod.
No, it's just a free...
Just a thing that they made.
Yeah.
What does the stuff. So there's a couple of bits and pieces around this. First and foremost, being they had a bit of a spat with the PUBG devs insofar as they aren't very pleased because it's very, very similar to PUBG in the way that it plays. You've got the same sort of encroaching sphere of horror. I'd say it operates differently enough.
Yeah.
Like the gunplay is completely different. The fact that you've got traps is completely different.
Yeah, you can still build these forts and
it's completely different. You've got grades of weaponry in it. So there's differentiation in there. I mean, you can get a fucking rocket launcher, for example, which is pretty mad. So there's some differentiation there, but you can kind of see where they're coming from, I guess.
Yeah, I don't feel like one company should be able to go, hey, every game in this genre, it's ours now.
Yeah.
That's not. That's not a thing. I don't think.
So I can see that. I mean,
yeah,
there are similarities there, and like the fact you're flying on the bus in a very similar way to the airplane. It's meant to be parodied in that way. It's intended to be very, very similar in that fashion.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, they've also passed 7 million players for their Battle Royale version, which you take into account the fact that PUBG passed 10 million, I want to say less than a month ago. That's not far off figures-wise. Now, admittedly, the Fortnite version is free.
I was going to say, yeah, the Fortnite one is free, don't
which
forget.
accounts for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got like your supply drops as well. Similar vein to the PUBG ones, and it's like they look similar style and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like it's
again, I don't feel like you can go, hey, every game in this genre is now mine. I don't feel like the people who made Theme Hospital, like, hey, every theme game. Bullfrog turn around and go, every theme game is ours. You can't have it.
Yeah.
That's
Cough up Mega Aquarium. Right,
no.
You're owned by Bullfrog. Oh wait, Bullfrog don't exist. So there is that. But I don't know. I find it interesting at the very least. Like I think there's an element that I kind of appreciate in the similarity. Because there's a lot of it that's very tongue-in-cheek, meant to directly mimic PUBG stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't think there's really a case there, per se.
No, I don't feel they've got a leg to stand on here. The format for Fortnite, that was quite difficult to say. The format for Fortnite is so different that it rewards a different kind of gameplay. Again, these M-shaped forts, these M-shaped forts where you can walk up and down in the V, are game-breaking. Absolutely game-breaking. They're wonderful. Like, not a problem. If you can build one of them, you can kill most people off and stay relatively safe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's silly that they're trying to do this, and it's a little bit petty, and I'm not a fan. I think
that the main thing was that they made a very determined sort of jab towards PUBG, and it just ruffled feathers rather than being took as the joke that it was intended to be.
Yeah.
Because it was quite clear that they whistled this one out through the door pretty swiftly.
Yeah, I mean they're updating it all the time and things to try and make sure that
make it work.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Pretty much.
Like, it was very slapped together, I feel, from the existing game asset.
People are enjoying it.
Yeah.
And PUBG hasn't done any worse for it. In fact, that they're looking at, they're now encroaching on 2 million concurrents for it.
Which is mental.
Actually mental.
That's way more than Dota's. Way more than Dota.
Yep.
And Dota is Steam's baby.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely is.
It's been top of the charts forever.
I'm just waiting now for a genre that doesn't have a battle royale system.
I'm
done with these now. Can we move on?
I think the next big genre should be fucking geese.
I'm not sure I'd want to fuck one.
Well, depends on how much it annoyed me and if I was playing the part of the farmer. You know what I mean? Like, I think the next genre should be stealth geese.
Oh dear.
I would be more than willing to go along to see that done to death. Like, I will play every single rehash and shitty new version of stealth geese.
Yep. Stealth
happy
geese,
for
OP. Yeah, I think just anything at this point that isn't battle royale, like I'd be great with. I'd be really happy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan.
No.
Never, ever, ever.
Shall
Should
we?
Talk about things that we do like?
Yes, let's talk about things that we do like. Now, I'm gonna make a slight admission. In that this week's recommendations, I fucked them up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about what your recommendation is for this week, and then we're gonna sort mine out on the fly, live on air.
We're gonna just like your thing in the note. Did you even type that in?
About 5-10 minutes ago, when I also downloaded the trailer for it, and we're gonna slot it in, and we're gonna make it work live on air, because I feel like I can't go this week without talking about it. I was clearly super tired and without tea when I sat down and went, yeah, we'll talk about whatever.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about that game. Yeah. We're going to talk about something more important. Let's talk about yours first, and then, as I say, we're going to do mine live, and then what we'll do, I think, is we'll talk about our picks from EGX, if that's okay.
That sounds good.
Yep.
So, this week, I have been playing Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Imagine a Phoenix Wright game, but significantly more weeby and fucking mad. Like, so it's very hard to talk about without giving spoilers, because it like right up, almost from the outset, there's some like really good twists and turns. But yeah, like, so you're placed in a school that's been made for these 14 people.
Only 14 of them?
Or it might be 16.
Okay,
well, 14 or 16.
Like, an entire school for them.
Yes. Been made for them, and they're told that they're taking part in a killing game. And it's basically whoever survives gets to go out. And whoever doesn't, well, you don't. And they've all got their own talents and their own skills. Like they're all like specifically talented in certain different ways, and they keep getting pressured to kill each other in various because they all decide quite early on that they don't want to, and they want to all be friends. And they want to help each other escape in some way, shape, or form from this school, but they get pushed towards murdering each other by saying the next person that murders someone and gets away with it gets to go. Or here are the reasons that this person would want to escape, and we'll just give those reasons to other random members of the people that are there, so everyone kind of knows each other's secrets. I feel like we're hitting a trend now with your recommended games between this and Tokyo Dark, where you're like, hey, this is a lot of reading, but it's weird as shit. Oh, Tokyo Dark, Jesus Christ! I've taken less lethal acids tabs. Like, Jesus Christ, that game is something. But actually, no, this is probably more acid-ish, but still.
It looks it.
But then, so when someone's been murdered and the body's been discovered, you go into a class trial, which is literally a court case where you all sit there and argue about who must have done it, and you stitch together the line of facts and the timeline of events and things that must and mustn't have happened, and you argue the points, because if you choose the correct person that did the murder, then they will be killed and all of you will be safe. If you choose a wrong person, then the person who did the murder goes away scot-free, and all of the people that got it wrong get punished. Oh, okay. If you refuse to vote, you get killed. If you break any of the rules, you get killed. Good. So it forces a lot of really dicey situations, and like, I'm not that much of a weeb, I promise. Like, I'm really not. I'm ironically a weeb in a lot of situations, but I don't normally go for anything quite this, I don't know, animu, but like it's the only way I can describe it. But like there's a certain charm to this. It's very self-aware. And it's very
as I imagine an acid trip would be, yes.
Well, it's very tongue-in-cheek in a lot of places. But
right.
equally, like, it's just... This game has the word cunt in it. I've never seen the word cunt in a game. Have you?
I'm just trying to think now. Unless I put it in as a character's name, I don't think so. And I do that very rarely. Like, I'm not 12. Away. I do that very rarely. But there is
blown away.
Sorry, that was just a mature rating that said that it had partial nudity and violence and all this sort of thing. So yeah, I can believe it wholeheartedly.
There's definitely partial nudity. There's definitely violence.
Is it a little bit funny or is it all very serial?
Oh no, there's definitely some good humor in there because like every character is a trope of some description.
Right, gotcha.
So there's the really spunky, vivacious woman that like thinks everyone's in love with her and is determined to sort of show off her womanly wiles. There's a really big, strong and dumb guy. There's a really kind of conniving, sneaky dude that's trying to manipulate everyone. There's the really sort of do-gooder little girl trying to like make everyone happy and make sure everything's above board and whatever else. Yeah, you name a trope, it's basically in there. But the interplay between all of them is pretty good.
Do you have a waifu? Is my like final question as to whether I ought to buy this or not.
Yeah, you can gift things to people to befriend them.
No, but like, do you
personally have one? I'm torn. Do you personally
have a waifu?
I am torn. It's either the really crude, sexually charged girl because she just comes out with the most ridiculous, outlandish things that I've ever seen, or Gonta, who's like a big muscle man who's an absolute moron. Like he doesn't even speak in complete sentences, and yeah, he's just an absolute idiot, but he means the best. Like anytime there's danger, it's like everyone get behind me, I'll protect you. But like he'll be facing the wrong direction because he doesn't understand that that's the way he should be facing. Like he's just an absolute moron, and it's fantastic.
Right.
But it's really fun. I've actually really been enjoying.
I feel like I need to pick, especially because it's on the Vita.
Yeah. Vita, PS4, and PC as well. It's on Steam.
Oh, there we go.
I was quite surprised.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is the bit where everything goes to shit for a second. So please bear with me, because we're gonna switch over to my.
No. Pip. This is. So this is a new section of the podcast that we're only including for this 1 week only, but we're going to try it out.
I already did it! First try! Sorry, I'm going to shout a lot. First try, I already did it.
I take that back, it's fine. Pip, what have you been playing this week?
Alright. Sorry, I'd already fixed it apparently, because I'm really clever and really good at my job. So this week I've been playing a game called Hellblade. Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice is not very expensive. It is one of the most important narrative experiences for the last couple of years. Hands down. This is contender for Game of the Year. It's very short, it's very linear. It is a puzzle and combat game. The combat feels kind of almost Dark Souls-esque, but it lacks the depth and complexity that armor sets and move sets and things kind of give it. I don't want to spoil it, but this is the story of a woman dealing with mental illness. And having lost the person that she loves the most, she goes to what the Norse believe to be hell. She marches right up to the gates and vows to get him back. She vows to absolutely save his soul. But, as I say, she's dealing with a lot of mental illness. So she, you as her, or watching her throughout the entire game, hear voices. Some of the voices help you. They tell you when to block. They help give you hints as to the puzzles surrounding you. And the puzzles, again, all rely on her mental illness in that she sees runes everywhere. So you have to start identifying these runes in the environment to be able to overcome challenges that the gods have set you and move on. Some of the voices, however, lie. But you're not entirely sure when they're lying to you. or what they're lying about. Some of the voices tell her that she can't do it, that she should turn back, that she's no good to anybody, that she can't save him. It's about an 8-hour experience, if you're not looking for all of the runes and things. But this is the most important narrative experiences that we've had for a long while. They spoke to the University of Cambridge and the Wellcome Trust in order to fully understand mental illness, or to understand to the best of their ability mental illness. And so the game shows you what it is like to have those various illnesses at every single step of the game. It's clever, it's thought-provoking, it's dark, and it's difficult. As somebody who deals with depression, as somebody who has various family issues and things going on, as somebody who understands love, this was a very difficult game to play.
But would you say that, I mean, obviously everyone's experience is different and therefore it can not be truly a parallel, but like, would you say that it handles each of the mental illnesses that it touches on well and correctly? Does it represent them as it should? Yes.
In fact, there's a big featurette. I say a big featurette. It's about 25 minutes. It's a making of that the game has, where it shows you the developers sitting down with patients who have PTSD, who have visual and auditory hallucinations, who have depression, who have various different forms of psychopathy and psychosis. And it shows you the developers talking to them. It shows you them playing the game at various points. It shows you them talking about their symptoms and then how the symptoms are shown in-game. But it does it all very... Okay, so this is difficult. It shows them all very respectfully.
Yeah.
At no point does it mock them.
Yes, no. Well, I would imagine almost worse would be if it patronised them.
No, yeah, no. There's none of that. But because of that, some of it is quite difficult to play. There were a couple of sections where she mentions her family, and I would have a knot in my stomach, and I hold my controller that little bit tighter. Some of the things that the voices say, I'd be kind of gripping my controller a little bit tighter, or I'd be just turning away from the screen ever so slightly so as to not have to deal with it.
That's good storytelling, though. That's compelling, strong storytelling.
We almost played it all in one sitting because I didn't want to put it down. And you'll know I'm the worst for finishing games. I am actually the worst for playing...
Other than this one, when was the last?
I finished Stardew. Like, I 100%ed Stardew.
When?
That was a long time ago now.
When
that first came out.
When that first came out?
Yeah.
So that's over a year.
I don't know, there's bound to be something. I've finished a lot of Civ games recently. I'm not very good at finishing games. I'm not very good.
To give an indication.
Yeah. I struggle with things holding my attention for long periods of time. I struggle. One shot. We finished one shot. Yes, thank you. That was fairly recently.
Maybe a bit less.
4 months ago.
Not too long, but still, like one.
Yeah, one every
one a quarter even is still quite low. So.
But we almost did this in one sitting because I didn't want to put it down. I didn't want her to not finish her journey.
Yeah.
I got quite upset at the ending, and I felt the ending coming from a long point in, and I still protested it when it came around.
Yeah.
It's clever. The way that the storytelling works is clever, and as I say, everything's handled beautifully. The combat is hard. The combat auto-adjusts to how good you are.
Fuck that.
The combat is hard. You can change that. You can change it to easy, medium, or hard. But it does have this super, super clever thing. And despite what things tell you, because there were a lot of stories when the game first came out that there was no permadeath. When you start up the game, it says that there's a rot in your arm, and if it creeps to your head, it's game over and you lose all your progress. They didn't mean that in a literal sense, but still be wary of the rot.
Okay.
So all these news stories that you heard about this when it came out first, take them with a pinch of salt. This game is, as long as you can handle the content, amazing and important. And if you can, spare the 8 hours to play it, and if you can deal with the heavy themes that it has, please play it. Please buy it. Please support Ninja Theory in this, because this is the closest to the AA industry that we've had, and they've taken the time to understand, and they've taken the time to come at this respectfully. Oh, my internet's just fallen through the floor, and up it comes again. Good. Yeah, they've taken the time to deal with this respectfully. So, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I was very pessimistic about this when it came out. And I was like, I don't know. Because a lot of this stuff is so ham-handed most of the time. So maybe I will. Maybe.
Genuinely, if you were considering it... Yeah, if you were considering it but were worried about how they've approached mental illness...
Oh yeah, I was just expecting it to just be really awkwardly dealt with.
No. No, to a point where it becomes the norm for you as you play.
Okay.
The visual and auditory hallucinations become a norm as you play.
Okay.
So, that's how well... That's how much of the narrative, how well woven in they are. So yeah, that's my game of this week.
Cool.
Again, yeah, it's not terribly expensive. If you can spend the 8 hours... and you like linear puzzle and combat-based experiences, you want to learn a bit about mental illness. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from playing it and watching the featurette. 100% worth it. 100% worth it.
Cool.
Right.
I will consider it on my list.
Good.
My ever-growing, expanding, never-depleting list.
Yeah, that one. So, we went to EGX.
We did.
Should we talk very briefly?
Elizabethanly? I could try.
Should we talk very briefly about a game that we saw that was good?
I saw quite a few. Do you mean a particular one, perhaps?
I mean...
This is one that we actually, for me, this is one we actually took to the stage.
Yes.
To talk about, and we even played a bit. We did a voiceover for it, which was magnificent.
It was something.
It was something. So this is possibly my favourite part of the entire stage time at AGX, and it was fantastic. So we're sat there rattling through our content, and then the man in my ear goes, right, we're going to show the trailer now. So I go, all right, well, we should look at the trailer and blah, blah, blah. Let's watch it now. So we're watching the trailer, and it's literally this that you can see on right now.
As you say that, come for the pussy, stay for the tail flashes on screen.
Popped up?
You timed that perfectly.
Okay, so like that literal line is at the end of the trailer. And I'm getting counted back in through my ear to go back to, doing content. And the dude's counting down. He started from 8. And it says, come for the pussy, stay for the tail. And he gets to 5. And he's like, that's like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And he's counted me in whilst cackling in my ear. Yep. And I don't know how I wasn't just immediately prostrate across the floor from the just sheer hysteria.
Genuinely, he got to 2 and could hardly breathe.
Yeah, well, I had to guess where 1 and then 0 was because I couldn't hear it because it was just giggles.
It was the fact that we came back in and we were super professional for 2 seconds, and then we both laughed because it was so silly.
So that alone was enough to make me want to. But this is so my bag. I like really tongue-in-cheek, self-aware humor, and this has it in spades. It's just super, super aware of how dumb it is, but in the best possible way. And you can date cats. I mean, cats are wonderful at the best of times, and it's all very. It's very bossa. They made Surgeon Simulator. They made I Am Bread, where you literally play as a slice of bread trying to toast itself.
Yep.
I mean, need I say more? It's in that kind of ballpark. And And, you know, we played a snippet of it on stage where we dated one of the cats.
Yeah, so you were the dater and I was the cat.
Yes, I was Audrey, I believe.
Audrey, yes.
Yes.
And I never want to feel that uncomfortable ever again.
What?
It was
you never want to feel the discomfort of being Trixie the cat in front of thousands of Twitch viewers. On a massive stage.
Oh, it just dating you as a cat has been the highlight of my gaming career so far. Yeah, I remember school feeling the smooth along rock too.
I mean, to say that I giggled is the understatement of the year. Like it was very difficult to hold my composure whilst I was playing with the long, smooth rock that reminded me of someone. Just.
How did we get through that?
I don't know. I don't. I was ready to storm off the stage in outrage of my own content.
Yeah.
That's kind of the spot that I was in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pick. Just because I love the unique titles that you get at events like this. Like, you know, you get a lot of the AAAs and you get a lot of stuff that do a genre well, but you don't get stuff that just are prepared to do whatever the fuck it wants.
Yeah.
And that's what I really, really appreciate about Perfect Day. They made a game that they thought of and went, we're going to make this.
But I feel like this has got a hint of her TOEFL boyfriend to it, where her TOEFL boyfriend, the first time you go through it, you're like, oh, this is a jaunty game about dating birds, la la la, and suddenly the feels kind of hit you in the face.
Yeah.
And then you play it through again, and you kind of go, oh, there's something here.
Yeah, and there is with this.
And again, and there's, you know, this screams the same thing, because you're a researcher on this island where they're losing cats and losing people.
Yes.
So
I think you're the third or fourth in a row to investigate this particular area or something.
Yeah, something like that. And some of the cats disappear to the other side of the island and they don't come back. So
mystery to be solved.
Definitely. Talking of mysteries, my pick would be Sunless Skies. Now, this is one that we spoke about briefly on stage, but the reason that I bring this forward is my one concern with this. This is the sequel to Sunless Seas, where you are driving a train through space, being hunted by eldritch abominations. Because this is Victorian period, and England wants their empire to expand to everywhere, including space.
And fair play to them.
Precisely. So they strap on a couple of Gatling guns to some trains and off they pop into space, where there are eldritch abominations and suns going out and all this sort of thing. Now, my concern with this, before I looked at it on the show floor, was the quality of the storytelling, because they've changed the way that the storytelling works, in that some of the storytelling is now constant. So before, you'd end a run with Sunless Seas, you'd take your captain, you'd take his son or an heir, and then you'd do the content again. But the content would have all gone back to the beginning. Some of this is perpetual. So as I play more and more playthroughs, my world will differ in what's gone on and what gangs are more prominent in things to your playthrough. So I was kind of worried about how the narrative was gonna whether the quality of story writing would be as good, because they have all these extra bits to worry about. Right.
Branching paths are always difficult to account for.
For sure. Since then, one of my favorite authoresses has been brought on to write a port. So any fears I had about the quality of the writing not being good enough
are gone.
Gone. Absolutely. Have you got a link to Cass's Twitter? We should probably.
I don't, but I can certainly grab one. I think I know what her Twitter is. It is what I think it is.
So Cassandra Core, who is one of the most wonderful writers of macabre fiction, of unsettling fiction, of slightly further than
madness.
Yeah. She wrote a lot recently, pieces of microfiction about what Disney princesses would be like with their fathers different. These little oddities that, when you read them, are wonderful. She writes about flavors, about everything having a flavor, which is kind of good considering she writes about a cannibal chef.
My favorite thing that she wrote was she was asking for well, actually no, two of the favorite things that she's written. One time she was asking for ingredients, and she was writing recipes that were just involving like human flesh,
yes,
and the souls of the dying and whatever else. And another time for favorites, she was providing beauty tips. So it was like, make your eyes seem brighter by removing them and putting them in a glass of bleach before bedtime, or stuff like that. And just like really, really sort of twisted, dark sort of, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was to ensure your eyes shine. Take them from a fresh victim each time.
Yes, exactly.
And you're like, oh, okie doke. Yep. Yep.
That'll do it.
Yep. Something about eyeliner, to produce the darkest eyeliner, leave it somewhere where it can hear the whispers of the dark.
I mean, I can probably fish some of these out.
Let them creep into the pot, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, so she is absolutely the right person to be taking on for this, and if that's the standard of writing that they're gonna have, the game's gonna be wonderful, hands down. This is in early access at the moment. You can access the first area out of 4. It's not quite balanced right yet. It does feel a little bit empty yet, but considering the amount of content that they're looking to put in it, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about this at this point. And I think actually, considering the game that we are undoubtedly going to get, the price that they're asking for it right now, I don't really have a problem with. I will say that the art has taken a giant leap forward from Sunless Seas as well.
Yeah.
So not only mechanically has it moved forward, you know, your trains are quite easy to control compared to the ships that were, you know, heavy and all that sort of thing. These are clever. These are mechanically, the game is very clever. Visually, the game is gorgeous looking already, and they still have a lot more work.
And it has a port written by someone who once gave us a beauty tip: drink plenty of fluids, but avoid anything secreted by the trees with faces like someone you know. Sorry, what?
Yep. What? That's what. Have you got the whole thread?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want that in my inbox later, please.
I mean, let's just let me pop in the chat as well for people's enjoyment. But it's just set your lipstick with powder for a tissue. Do not look at the lipstick. Do not even think about what is on it. It's just like these little stabs of horror. Like, it's just brilliant.
Wash your hair in cold water. Do not give it a chance to recover. You will regret it.
Yeah.
Do not skimp on your skincare routine. Carrion insects are very astute. Like,
microdermabrasion treatments are fantastic for large pores, maggot wounds, and necrosis. Like, it's just...
Oh, my life.
It's just bang on.
It's actually wonderful.
Unsettling.
Yeah. She's wonderful. So she is the right person to write some of this, and I'm super excited. Super excited for it. So yes, Sunless Skies would be my pick. Although Mega Aquarium was wonderful, Production Line was wonderful, Living the Deal is going to be good fun. Dissidia was really good. We won a Dissidia tournament, which was nice.
We were so good.
We were really good, actually. We were really good.
We didn't get given an extra try.
Yeah, but we could have lost that. We didn't.
To be fair, once we got our extra try, we were very good.
Yeah, we were very good.
It's because I was playing. In all fairness, the most part of it was I was playing a bad character and letting the side down.
Right, and then you switched to a
and then it was okay.
We were good. Yeah. So yeah. Those are our picks. The other one that I would say, because I like a bit of what the shit is that, is
that astrology one?
Yes, the astrology one, and we're just gonna find out what it's called. But there's a game where you follow along in a pop-up book. You are an astrologer, and you have to fix people's problems by reading the stars and hoping that your vague reading means something to them. So that you fix their problem enough that they're happy, but also not enough so that they come back.
Niche.
Yeah, it was super odd.
Yeah.
Super odd. And it was based on an actual astrologer from
yesteryear?
From yesteryear, yes. But it was really good. Like,
it looked interesting. I didn't really take a close look at it, but it looked pretty cool.
It was all a little pop-up book, and you pulled the little star signs out to see what it said, and it would say, it's kind of like you know in Heavy Rain where it would say trousers, and you'd press the button in the vain hope that you would put on trousers rather than take off the person's next to you.
Yeah, or just shout the word trousers.
Yes. So that's kind of how it worked on a star sign kind of level.
Okay. Was
that there'd be a guy and he's like, hey, so there's this woman I really like, and the stars would say something like warring is in your future, but warring is always consoled softly.
Right.
And you kind of go,
what the fuck?
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. And you then let the client kind of vaguely interpret it, and they go and, So it was kind of clever in that, where you had to make these decisions based on just not a lot of information, and that was kind of cool.
You liked Raiders of the Broken Planet as well, for like all of the you enjoy it when you actually got around to playing it.
Yeah, that was good fun. Again, asymmetric stuff.
Needs some work and some polish.
But asymmetric shooters are cool. Nobody's done them quite right yet.
No.
But asymmetric shooters are cool.
You know, I never looked at Homo Machina in the end either.
We ought to get in touch with them and see if we can give that a go at some point.
They had like an iPad halfway through the third day.
Oh.
I was like, no.
That's sad. But yeah.
I'm not.
That's those I think were probably our games of the floor. I really enjoyed my time there, I'll be honest.
Oh, you were off doing Yogscasty stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it was good fun. I played HOTS with the Yogscast. I was super bad. Really bad. But I popped into their I've popped into their streams like after that, and they've all been really nice. They've all been super nice about things. So it's it was a good experience all round, I think.
Oh god.
I really think it was a good experience all around, and as I say, we took this on stage. That was mental.
And that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, we've been doing this since when? April?
Yeah.
And we've done Twitch stage with it, and that's further than I thought we would get with it, really. Because I know what my attention span is for doing stuff what is actually a little bit difficult.
I mean, yeah, again, you've just got to look at my record for how many games have I finished this year.
Oh, yeah, there is that.
But I'm enjoying what we do here, and I'm always super glad that people drop by and they listen on YouTube and on SoundCloud and things like that. Like it's good.
I've got some homework for people watching the stream or the YouTube or listening to SoundCloud though. Who do you want to see on future episodes of 6 out of 10? Because we're always looking for new people, but we continually move within our sort of friendship groups and people that we already know,
Yeah.
or the people that we directly admire. But obviously, you guys are going to know a hell of a lot more people than we do, and from a bunch of different places and whatever else. So shoot a sneaky tweet over, point them in our general direction. We'll see if we can line some people up. I think it'd be interesting to see some new, fresh faces in the mix for the future.
Yeah, I feel like shooting us a tweet or a message is probably the best way. But yeah, let us know who you'd like to hear from. Yes, Stephen, you
do need to get a Saturday off, you fuck.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be lovely to have you on.
It really would. No, definitely so. The other thing that me and Sam have been toying with, and I think we need to find a time slot for this now, is that all these bizarre games that we recommend you guys, we'd like to bring you a little bit of gameplay. And I'm saying this out loud so that not only do I corner Sam into like doing this, but I corner me into doing this as well, because I know I'm as bad as him.
You're responsible for it now. Well, you are all responsible for making us do the things. Yeah.
So we're actually looking to expand the 6 out of 10 family just a little bit. And we'd actually like to do the 6 out of 10 not bad gameplay, where we take turns, where Sam will play a game one week and I'll play a game the next, and we talk through a game recommendation. We play through a game recommendation that we very much like.
Right, right. So no, it's going to be more like the bastard son of the podcast, because I'm going to purposefully find really weird shit and make Pip suffer through me playing it. Pip's going to be like, this adventure, oh, there was so much emotion tied to this, and it really made me think about my life and the way that I do it. And I'm going to be like, this is Nick Cage Simulator. You can literally talk to Nicolas Cage and he's going to make a weird face at you and run off. See, that's going to be where I'm coming from.
I think every couple of weeks we ought to switch it, so you pick a game for me and I pick a game for you.
Well, that's not going to be fun, though. I'm going to have to play something halfway sensible. We both know I don't do that.
I've got to play Nicolas Cage Simulator.
You do play nonsense occasionally. I never play a serious game.
I only ever play Honey Pop and WoW when I come off stream. Like, are you kidding me? I don't actually play video games. Are you kidding? No,
I mean, I suppose.
I feel like that'd be a really nice addition to the family, and it's something that you guys can look forward to, because we are going to find a time slot to be able to do it. I'm the awkward one, in that I go out and play cards all the time.
I just sit here waiting for someone to call.
You have Zoom, you can start the call yourself, but you can only do it for about 40 minutes because I'm the one that pays for it. But no, that's something that we're looking to bring to the stream for definite, so you guys can maybe look forward to that soon. I for sure like to get that off the ground soon. That'd be really good. But yeah, I feel like maybe we ought to title this week's episode and have a little scuttle off.
Yeah, but keep us honest, people in the crowds. Send us tweets with recommendations of games.
Yep.
Maybe you would want to see that as the thing on the memes. Like, let us know your opinions, because that's how we know that we're doing things that you actually want to see, rather than just doing stuff to please ourselves.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I do that anyway, but yeah. It's fine. I like to pretend that you guys actually want to see the shit that I want to throw out. So yes, title of the episode. What made this episode 6 out of 10 not bad?
I really want to call this 6 out of 10 really scary bootlegs. I'll be honest.
I want to call it 6 out of 10. Huh?
I don't even think that was a honk. That was you just going. Ah! That's what this podcast has devolved to now. Is 6 out of 10. Can I put that video back on? Is the question. Can I put this video back on?
It's been a long day. I already streamed before we even started this podcast. It's been a lot. That's as close to a honk that I'm gonna get.
Yeah, wonderful.
I'm guessing you could tell the difference if you went forward with your rap idea on that one.
That's an easy. That's an easy category.
Yeah.
I feel.
Tutorials here.
Oh my life. 6 out of 10. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, we reckon that's.
There you go. That's the title of today's episode. It's 6 out of 10. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us as always. Thank you for bearing with us through our just flat out insanity. Yeah, absolute unbridled unbridled insanity.
Ah.
There you go.
Good.
No black, none white, none blue, none. No. No, it's not. It's definitely not. But no, thank you so much, guys, for joining us as per usual. We will be back next week, 5 p.m. on Saturday, BST. Unless the times change, in which case it's GMT, but I think it's still BST.
No idea when the clocks go back, actually.
No, this month at some point, question mark.
At some point, I'll wake up an hour early and be really grumpy. And then it will be that day.
Is that different from...
Wait, no, it's a good one this time, isn't it? We get an hour extra sleep.
This is fall back. So yes.
Yeah, so we get an hour extra sleep. Oh, I'll be less grumpy for a day then.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, a day. Oh, I do hope that falls on a...
It's not going to.
Oh, well...
Normally falls to Saturday night, Sunday morning, unfortunately.
Pish. Anyway.
Huh?
This is what we were sat doing. This is what we were
Well, I
sat
kept seeing geese in the field and I had to say hello.
We were late to today. I give up doing outro. We were late to today's stream because he was making goose noise. Well, no, it wasn't even goose noises. It was a noot.
Yeah.
It was the fact that we were doing Wii Shop music as Pingu.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more difficult. I invite you guys to try.
It's the fast.
No.
It's very.
No.
It's skill.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Super difficult.
Don't even at me for my newt skills.
Guys, I love you a great deal. Thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna head out for today. Many thanks. You guys have been wonderful. We'll see you again next week. Thank you again to you guys who are on Patreon. Thank you to you guys who are on the YouTubes and SoundClouds. You guys make us very happy in our silly faces. Much appreciated, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Many loves, bye.